First, a young woman went missing. She accompanied her husband to town and walked back through the forest, but didn't reach home. Then an elderly, 62-year-old by village standards, man picked wild leak immediately. Before the investigation had time to unfold, 2 children disappeared. A local policeman thought they were dealing with a maniac. They told the residents eager to come to forest to stay home in the evenings and ask for help from the city. But how can you keep people at home? The next day, a girl came looking for a goat, which was always scampering about, and at the abandoned house in the lane beyond the forest, where the grass was taller than a man, someone was breathing in the grass, not like a man or a beast, but as if he were sucking air through a tube, with difficulty, with a whistle. That's when the men trotted along. The police authority didn't stop them, so they went off together. The so-called maniac was found first. He had built something like a guillotine, but a heavy, flat stone fell downwards instead of a blade. That stone smashed his head against the plow. The racks of his neck muscles held together the corpse kneeling in front of the scaffold. The other corpses were in the cellar. 2 had been murdered, beaten to death with a common stick. 2, a man and a girl, who were later found to have died of cardiac arrest. There were no signs of physical abuse on them. He'd been living there secretly for about a fortnight. Where he had come from, it couldn't be ascertained. He hadn't eaten anything. He was emaciated. Numerous bruises and scratches of various ages were found on his body. He had tortured himself daily. The fingernails on his hands were scraped off. In the corner of the room where he had made himself a bed were sheets of paper, whole, crumpled or torn to shreds. 1 or 2 phrases were on each sheet, sometimes an attempt to write something ended in furious strokes. The most common words were sorry, help, and die. It's the 4th of August today. Is ripped into small pieces. I'm sorry, she saw me. I didn't mean to. She would have told everyone. She was screaming so much. Any mirror, all of you, let you all like this. A mirror was recovered from the powdered glass of the woman who had died first. A pile of glass crumbs was found behind the house, identifying the shredded mirrors, not broken, but purposely ground into the crumbs. The unidentified murderer's mental disorder was logical. It remained to identify him. The first bell rang in the pathologist's report. It was impossible to make a whole picture out of the crushed bones of the skull, but there were twice as many bones as necessary. If our specialists had the powerful equipment and programs that Western medical examiners have, it would have been possible to prove something. But the drawing attached to the report, an approximate reconstruction of the killer's skull, looked ridiculous. It was frightening, because the jaw stretched forward and fused into a trumpet that couldn't be on a human face. The pathologist believes the eye sockets were drop-shaped and extended towards the snout. The story had some resonance, and curious people periodically visited the murder scene. There is such a special breed of people. 2 of them, students and a couple, described their outing on a voice recorder. The rest is known from this record. In the empty house, they found traces of previous visitors, recent writings on the wall, and an antique 19th century postcard from a series on good manners. The postcard showed a girl kneeling on a pool by the dressing table and showing her reflection on her tongue. The caption read, "Educated children, don't disturb their faces, for they run the risk of remaining that way forever." The next find was a dusty mirror on the table. The last coherent words on the voice recorder were this: she.
Oh, what are you doing with your sleeve? I'll get it right now.
Goes into another room. He.
Look, it's crooked. Look at my mouth.
The awe sound kept going on and on, as if the guy couldn't close his mouth, getting louder and louder, until it was overridden by the girl's squeal. The girl was found in the same place, and the cause of death was cardiac arrest. He committed suicide by jumping into the well, having first torn his face, head and shoulders with his fingernails. The bones of his skull were deformed impossibly. The upper jaw was bent so that the jaw, which wouldn't close, reached up to the brow, swallowing the opening of the nose and spreading the eyes apart to the ears. The lower jaw was fused to the collarbones by the jawline. The girl's face was disfigured on one side only, the side that would have been visible in the mirror had it been on the table. In a grotesque expression of horror, her right eye was open and bulging. The eye socket and the eyeball itself were more than doubled in size. There was no mirror in the room. 4 days later, the investigator in charge of the case didn't show up for work and wrote to me asking me to stop by his house as soon as possible. The front door was open and an envelope was taped to the bedroom door. The writing on the door read, "I'm in the bedroom. Read it first." It was a very brief account of the last day of his life. I made a photocopy of the card. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of it, but just in case, I burned the photocopy. Any mirror will do. It happened suddenly at 5:35 a.m. when I went into the bathroom to shave. It didn't hurt, and it doesn't hurt now. You don't have to look in the mirror. You just have to be in the field of its reflection. It gets worse every time. Trying to fix things in front of the mirror is even worse. The mirrors are covered. My eyesight is fine, though I see mostly my eye. My hearing is fine. My blood pressure is elevated. My pulse is rapid, and my heart beats intermittently. The temperature is low, 35.4 degrees. I didn't notice any increased aggressiveness, but the idea to take a gun, go out into the street, and take as many people with me as possible was. The motive is as follows: they're not guilty, but I'm not guilty either, so why should it be me alone? But I dismissed that thought quite easily. I can't help thinking about the case. I'm even pleased that I don't have to invent such a way to end my life. I apologize for not allowing myself to be explored. I can't exist like this. I haven't had time to write a will. I want a flat to go to my daughter from my first marriage. I called my colleagues and we went into the bedroom together. He was lying on the bed with an oilcloth under his head. He had shot his right ear, but he had pressed a pillow to his left ear, so there was hardly any blood to be seen. Next to him on the nightstand were all his cash and papers. What was left of his face reminded us of his habit of frowning, with a vertical wrinkle across his forehead. Now his entire face, from chin to forehead, was divided by a vertical slit into which his mouth and nose fell, and his eye sockets were placed opposite each other. Shooting at his ear, he blew out both his eyes. Within a month, our department was discontinued. Most of us changed occupations. We try not to learn news about each other. Whenever I go to the mirror, I break out in a cold sweat and remember, any mirror will do.